What's your stage name so I can look you up?
King Harris.
King Harris?
You know T.I.?
Huh?
T.I.?
Who's that?
That's my father.
Children gonna be children. Kids will be kids, man. You know what I'm saying? I expect that from them. I expect that from them. I expect them to do the wrong thing.
Till I get back and see him. Wait till I slap a alright, yeah, wait till I come back in the market late night, and then it's just you and I.
Welcome back. Word is flying around the streets that King Harris's reckless mouth might have finally landed him in a mess too big to talk his way out of. The son of Atlanta trap pioneer Clifford T.I. Harris Jr. has always danced on the edge of trouble, but one late night spin through the suburbs flipped everything upside down and put his name across headlines from TMZ to Hip Hop DX. It started off like nothing more than an ordinary night in October 2024. King, just 20 years old, behind the wheel of a sleek black BMW, rolling out of a gas station in Dunwoody, Georgia. But in a split second, things spiraled out of control. He nearly clipped a police cruiser, and when those blue lights cut through the darkness, a chill ride turned into pure chaos in seconds. Cops expected a routine stop.
And that you weren't allowed to turn left right there because it's separated by those double yellow lines. I got you. Do you have your license on you?
Maybe just a ticket, but what they got was hip-hop royalty's son, with the smell of loud weed hanging in the air, a gun sitting on his hip, and a live warrant in the system just waiting to drag him in. Body cam footage, which wouldn't leak online until 2025, caught everything. King stayed cool, hands up, voice steady, trying to talk smooth, even as officers clocked the smoke and spotted the steel on him. The shocker came when they ran his name. Boom! An active bench warrant out of Pickens County popped up, tied to a 2022 case he thought was behind him. The charges? Speeding, DUI, and riding dirty on a suspended license. On paper, it looked like minor stuff, but skipping that court date turned the whole thing into a legal landmine. Once cops confirmed it, the cuffs snapped on, and in seconds, King Harris, the kid who spent years online flexing his street cred, was sitting in the back of a squad car while the cameras rolled, his late-night stunt becoming viral content in real time.
Confirm it, so the warrant is valid and they do want you.
Hello.
And now that I'm thinking about it, I want you to make sure that you know your rights. I'm gonna read your Miranda real quick. Just give me 1 sec. Just gonna read you your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court.
For T.I., this was the nightmare he had predicted for years. The trap legend turned businessman had gone on record, warning everyone that his son was chasing a fire he didn't need to play with. And if anybody knows how fast that fire burns, it's T.I. himself. A man whose career was forged in the hustle, hardened by a federal weapons bid, and shadowed by courtroom battles that nearly buried him before the music saved his name. I built his empire with one goal, to keep his kids from ever walking the same dark road he once did. But King, he never wanted that polished, gated life his parents worked so hard to give him. He craved grit, not safety, and he made sure the world knew it. That quiet family tension exploded into the spotlight in 2023 at a Falcons game when King straight up argued with his dad in front of thousands of fans and cameras. He shouted that he wasn't raised with silver spoons, claiming he spent more time at his grandmother's rough neighborhood house than in the Harris mansion.
Oh, some weed in the car, so our procedure is we gotta check it. Is there anything else that I need to be aware of?
Man, I don't want y'all to check the car.
I can't hear you.
I don't want y'all to search the car.
Well, I understand that, but if I smell weed, that's probable cause to search the vehicle.
You're not gonna find nothing. You're gonna find my guns.
Just multiple guns?
I got a stick.
For King, it was about proving he was real. For T.I., it was like watching his son spit on the very stability he'd nearly lost his life trying to build. The clip went viral instantly, turning a private father-son war into a running internet joke. So when King got busted months later, weed in the air, a gun on his hip, and an old warrant hanging over him, the internet acted like it was prophecy fulfilled. T.I.'s warnings had finally materialized in front of the whole world, and social media wasted no time clowning both father and son. Memes spread like wildfire, painting King as a wannabe gangster and T.I. as a father losing control of his own household. But here's where the story twists. Despite the weed smell and the firearm, Georgia law wasn't about to bury him. King was actually licensed to carry. and small amounts of marijuana usually don't land you behind bars. More like a ticket. By the very next day, October 15th, 2024, the warrant got recalled, and King walked free from jail like nothing had even happened. Legally, it was just a bump in the road, but culturally, it was an earthquake. Hip-hop blogs, gossip sites, and Twitter timelines lit up all at once. TMZ blasted headlines, T.I.'s son arrested, guns and weed found. Hot New Hip Hop painted it like another rapper's kid chasing clout. Atlanta Black Star dragged him for wanting so badly to be Thug. The coverage was merciless. Meanwhile, fans debated that body cam footage like it was a documentary. Some mocked King for trying to act tough, while others saw a different side. A kid staying calm, polite, and confused about why a warrant from years ago was suddenly ending his night. In one moment, he even asked officers if he could call his dad. A rare, vulnerable look at a young man usually flexing online, suddenly exposed. The clip became more than just viral entertainment. It was a live case study in messy father-son dynamics. A privileged but conflicted kid caught between wanting independence and still reaching for his father's hand when the walls closed in. Still, the streets don't talk the same way the blogs do, and their verdict on King was far harsher. The second that footage dropped in 2025, the rumor mill went into overdrive. Whispers started flying that King had been jumped in county, that he was secretly sentenced to years inside, or that T.I. was pulling strings behind the scenes to shield his son from gang politics and lockup. None of it was ever confirmed. But in hip-hop, rumors often hit harder than the truth itself. Suddenly, the story wasn't even about the facts anymore. It became about symbolism. A rapper's son desperate to prove he's real, walking straight into the same danger zone his father once barely escaped. And for T.I., this wasn't just another PR mess, this was personal. Publicly, he kept his comments short and controlled, but insiders whispered he was on the phones nonstop, checking with lawyers, smoothing things over with whoever needed to be calmed down. This was a man who had spent a decade reinventing himself. Mogul, TV star, family man, now watching his own son gamble it all just to earn street credibility. Meanwhile, King was living a double storyline that the public couldn't look away from. Just weeks after his arrest, on November 5th, 2024, he and his longtime girlfriend, Jania, Big Nana, Epps welcomed their first child, a baby boy named King Jr. 1 month, he's in cuffs asking cops if he can call his dad. The next, he's holding his own son, announcing to the world, "Welcome, King Jr. Time to take over." It was a shocking twist. A young man torn between chasing clout and facing real-life fatherhood, all while the cameras never stopped rolling. Even T.I. tried to laugh it off in a Hot 107.9 interview, cracking jokes about becoming a granddad. But behind the humor was the weight of history repeating itself. A cycle that felt too familiar. A father who once risked everything in the streets, now forced to watch his own child flirt with the exact same fire. And that's what made King's arrest so much bigger than a minor case on paper. It shook the Harris family to its core. For years, T.I. has been a man divided. The hustler-turned-legend who rapped about guns and survival versus the father determined to keep his kids far away from that chaos. That tension makes every clash with King feel like more than just a messy night in Dunwoody. It feels generational, like a battle between two different versions of the same bloodline. Every time King jumps online flashing guns or talking tough, you can almost hear his father's frustration boiling. T.I. spent decades clawing out of the trap, building a mansion, reality shows, and businesses to give his family stability. But his own son keeps leaning back toward the very streets he worked to escape. Fans still remember that Falcons game when King went viral screaming that he wasn't raised soft and that most of his childhood was spent at his grandmother's roughhouse instead of the mansion. That moment said it all. A son fighting to prove he's not privileged, and a father heartbroken that his hard work is being rejected right in front of the world. This wasn't just some random meltdown. It was a young man fighting like hell to shake off the silver spoon tag that shadows every rap kid born into money. Hip-hop culture worships authenticity. It lives off the grind and the come-up story. But what happens when your father already made it out, built the mansion, stacked the millions, and left you with nothing gritty to claim? That's the question King's been battling since the first time he touched a mic. The Falcons game blow-up was just one scene in a much bigger father-son war that refuses to stay behind closed doors. Clips of the screaming match turned into memes overnight, with fans picking sides like it was a rap beef. Some rode with T.I., saying he'd earned the right to lecture his son. Others defended King, saying he had the right to carve out his own lane. But underneath all the laughs and jokes was something raw. A son pushing back against his father's safety net, and a father terrified his boy was sprinting toward danger just to prove he's real. T.I. knows better than anyone how fast keeping it real can destroy you. Back in 2009, he spent a year in federal prison on gun charges. And even before that, his career was almost derailed by constant cases, street beefs, and close calls with the law. He survived the chaos King is now glorifying on Instagram. But instead of listening to the warning signs, King seems dead set on testing the same streets his father barely crawled out of, and that's why every slip-up hits harder. Every headline, every Instagram live, every leaked argument, it all plays out like a public soap opera because nothing in the Harris family ever stays private. They're not just hip-hop royalty, they're also reality TV royalty. With their dynasty broadcast for years through shows like T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. So when King stumbles, it's not just gossip blogs clowning him, it's mainstream media, casual fans, and even people outside of hip-hop weighing in. By the time that October arrest hit the news, it wasn't just a story. It was a full-blown spectacle, amplified because the world already felt invested in watching this father-son battle unfold in real time. We've literally watched King grow up on camera. We've seen T.I. preach fatherhood, redemption, and the importance of breaking cycles. So when the problem child label started sticking to King, it fit almost too perfectly for the world to ignore. Suddenly, he wasn't just a 20-year-old with an old bench warrant. He became a symbol of a bigger struggle every famous family faces. How do you keep your kids grounded when the culture worships street credibility? But here's the thing. King's moves aren't just random acts of rebellion. They feel calculated, like pieces in a dangerous game of identity. In hip-hop, being the child of a legend is both blessing and curse. The doors swing open faster, but the microscope burns harsher. Just ask Coi Leray battling constant comparisons to Benzino, or Lil Romeo forever trying to carve out space away from Master P's shadow. King knows that pressure. He's even admitted it, comparing his bond with T.I. to Ghost and Tariq from Power. The father who built an empire trying to save his son, and the son who sees that protection as straight-up control. That's exactly what fans saw during the Falcons' blow-up and again in the body cam footage. King clinging to pride, but still asking if he could call his dad. It's a power struggle drenched in love, twisted by ego, fame, and hip-hop's obsession with being real. The irony is wild. While King fights to prove he's not just some spoiled mansion kid, every move he makes gets spun as the opposite. When he flashes guns online, critics say he's cosplaying gangsta from behind gated security. When he gets arrested, blogs drag it as another clout stunt gone wrong. And when he raps about pain and struggle, people question if he's ever really lived it. That's the trap he's stuck in. The harder he pushes to break free from T.I.'s shadow, the deeper the internet frames him as nothing more than T.I.'s privileged but reckless son. And since social media thrives on spectacle, his mistakes hit the timeline faster than any of his music ever does, turning every slip into viral entertainment before his talent even gets a chance to shine. When King dropped his 2024 single Dear Son, right after becoming a father himself, people tuned in heavy. But it wasn't just for the bars. Fans wanted to see if the so-called mugshot kid would finally show growth, regret, or double down with more defiance. The problem? The music kept getting buried under the noise of his drama. And for T.I., that's heartbreaking. Because this isn't just about protecting a brand. It's about a father watching his own warnings get ignored in real time. Insiders say that when King was arrested, T.I. didn't go wild on social media like he could have. Instead, he worked the phones behind the scenes. He called lawyers, spoke to court clerks, even tapped into street contacts to keep the situation from spiraling out of control. T.I. knows better than anyone how one reckless night can flip into a life-changing disaster, but he also knows the harsh truth. There's only so much a father can do when his grown son insists on walking the hard road and doing it in public for the world to watch. Publicly, T.I. plays it cool. Privately, he's fighting battles we don't see. And yet, through all the chaos, there's something deeper that stops this saga from being just another messy celebrity meltdown. The moment King became a father himself, the stakes shifted. Suddenly, the kid chasing authenticity has his own son watching every move. And for T.I., a man who once went to prison before rebuilding his life, it's like seeing his own story play out again. But faster, wilder, and this time online, where the whole world has front row seats. Now the question hangs heavy. Will fatherhood slow King down, force him to grow up, or will it drag him even deeper into the pressure cooker of proving himself to the streets? Social media might laugh and meme him to death, but beneath the clowning is something raw. A young man stuck between privilege he hates and streets he doesn't fully understand, and a father torn between unconditional love and tough love. That's why this story hits harder than just gossip. It feels like a modern hip-hop fable. Fame bought King's safety, but safety doesn't sell records, chaos does. I built an empire so his children wouldn't struggle, and now that very comfort is the thing King resents most. Fans see themselves in both sides. Parents exhausted trying to guide kids who won't listen, and kids desperate to prove independence even if it breaks them. And that's why every clip blows up viral, every mugshot becomes a meme, and every argument turns into another chapter in this never-ending public family feud. Every argument between T.I. and King doesn't just stay in the family, it turns into a viral think piece. This saga isn't only about a father and son anymore. It's about what happens when hip-hop's first wave of moguls raise kids in a culture that still worships the struggle. And right now, King Harris is standing at the heaviest crossroads of his young life. One path keeps him trapped in the loop, chasing viral mugshots, flexing on Instagram Live, and watching his music career get drowned out by gossip blogs. The other, it's tougher, but way more powerful. Growing up, embracing fatherhood, and carving out a lane that proves he's more than just T.I.'s wild son. The birth of King Jr. might be the moment that forces him to slow down and rethink the endless chase for street points. Becoming a dad at 20 is already tough, but doing it while the entire internet is watching, that's a whole different level of pressure. The kid the blogs branded as hip-hop's favorite troublemaker is now somebody's father, and that responsibility can either make him into a man or break him completely. Every choice King makes now will echo louder than ever, not just because of media coverage, but because his child will grow up seeing it all. If King can take the mistakes, the fights, and the mugshots and turn them into music, he might flip the narrative in his favor. Hip-hop has always respected pain when it's poured into art. Look at Meek Mill or 21 Savage. They took legal trouble and spun it into storytelling that connected worldwide. King's October 2024 arrest, his screaming match with T.I. at the Falcons game, the endless clowning online. Those are raw ingredients for powerful, relatable records if he's brave enough to be vulnerable. His track Dear Son hinted at that maturity, giving fans a glimpse of a young man wrestling with legacy and fatherhood instead of just flaunting clout. But one record isn't enough. He'll need consistency, raw honesty, and music that feels lived, not borrowed. Because controversy might keep him trending, but it will never guarantee respect. And in hip-hop, respect is the only currency that can finally free him from being seen as just T.I.'s privileged kid. Still, the challenge in front of him is massive. Rap audiences are brutal when it comes to the sons and daughters of legends. One slip and they'll dismiss him as a poser. But if he gets it right, he has the rare chance to flip pain into legacy and chaos into credibility. When you're born into fame, the world demands extremes. Greatness or failure, nothing in between. Coi Leray had to fight it. Jaden Smith had to fight it. Diggy Simmons too. And now King Harris is in the same ring, but with even higher stakes. He's trying to survive in a culture that glorifies danger and struggle, while the same fans who clown him for privilege also demand proof that he's real. It's a trap with no exit sign. Too privileged to be street, too street to be polished, too famous to live normal, and still too unknown to be legendary. And hanging over him is the massive shadow of T.I. Platinum albums, hit singles, reality TV, businesses, a whole empire. Every step King takes gets measured against that legacy, and even his mistakes don't belong just to him. They bounce back on his father, turning private family drama into public trending topics. That's a weight most young men never carry. And it explains why King's been reaching so desperately for authenticity, trying to prove he's more than just a mansion kid chasing clout. But fatherhood could flip that whole script if he lets it. Raising a child has a way of slicing through ego and forcing focus. T.I. himself admitted that fatherhood was one of the key things that made him reinvent his life after prison. And now, King has the same opportunity staring him dead in the face. This is his chance to stop proving he's tough and start proving he's present, responsible, and creative. Hip-hop eats up a redemption arc almost as much as it devours scandal. If King can transform his image from reckless problem child of a legend into a young father and artist who grew up right in front of the cameras, fans might finally root for him instead of roasting him. The cycle of clout chasing doesn't have to define him forever. He can take the pain of being misunderstood and flip it into something undeniable. Because the truth is, King's choices ripple far beyond his own career. They shape how the culture views hip-hop dynasties themselves. T.I. wasn't just another rapper. He was one of the first trap stars to turn hustle into generational wealth and broadcast fatherhood on TV. And now, the world is watching to see if King will rise to that legacy or crumble under it. If King Harris rises, it'll prove once and for all that a rap mogul's kid can stumble, take the hits, learn the lessons, and still carve out greatness. But if he falls deeper into trouble, it'll only feed the cynical belief that fame's second generation can't survive the pressure. And that's why people care. Because this isn't just gossip. It's a test of what happens when the first wave of trap kings raise kids in a world that still glorifies the very streets they once fought to escape. And make no mistake, the spotlight isn't moving off him anytime soon. Every Instagram post, every new track, every interview will be dissected, mocked, or praised by millions. If King drops music bragging about street life, the internet will torch him for faking. If he goes conscious, they'll clown him for being soft. If he stays quiet, rumors will rush in to fill the silence. That's the reality of growing up famous in 2025. Your identity isn't private anymore. It's content, whether you want it or not. But there's one thing King still controls: his actions. A focused grind, dropping consistent music, keeping out of pointless beef, and leaning into fatherhood could slowly rewrite his reputation. Because if there's one thing hip-hop loves more than a crash, it's a comeback. The only question is whether King wants to tell that story or live out the tragedy. At its core, this saga has never been just about one arrest or a handful of jailhouse whispers. It's about a father and son trapped between two worlds. One who clawed his way out of the trap and built a dynasty, and one trying to prove he's real without seeing the dangers he's running toward. It's about cycles, how the kids of legends search for identity, how fame can feel like a cage, and how the love between father and son gets pushed to its breaking point under the microscope of celebrity. King Harris still has time. Time to grow, time to flip the script, time to prove he's more than just a viral headline. But the decision is his. Will he stay the reckless kid chasing clout, or finally embrace the weight of his last name and turn it into something real? The world is watching closer than ever, because from this point on, every move King makes as an artist, as a father, and as a man will decide if his story becomes one of redemption or regret. One thing's certain: King Harris isn't just living in T.I.'s shadow anymore. He's standing at the edge of writing the next chapter in hip-hop history, and the ending depends on him. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.